Good morning, everybody. 25 November 2017, 7:11 a.m. The sun is actually up today. It's Saturday, the day of rest, which is probably not happening for me. So, yeah, that's a legalism versus grace argument that we're not going to have at 7 o'clock in the morning. However, I was thinking this morning, as I often do, because in the mornings my brain has yet to be assaulted by this crap pot that we call a society and a civilization, and I can actually do some thinking in an unbiased way without getting so pissed off that I can't actually articulate what I'm thinking. So anyway, I was thinking this morning about the power going out, power outages. And, you know, depending on where you live, that's either a really big deal or, whatever. You know, I was born and raised in the Northeast, and, you know, I got to Texas just as soon as I could, but I was born and raised in the Northeast, and if you were somebody that depended on electricity for heat, power goes out, it can kill you. Right? You know, and there's people that they're on life support, obviously, no electricity, no life support. You know, different people have different issues, but electricity can be more than just a modern convenience depending on who you are and what you have going on. So I was thinking this morning about electricity and the power going out. And I've been thinking for a long time that part of preparedness should be accepting that we're probably going to be living our lives much closer to the 18th century than the 21st century. At least for a while, right? So, that's step one, is the mindset. Then really step two is the war game. If I accept that as a potential reality, then what do I do about it? How do I address that situation? Man, I don't know. I'd have as many hand tools as you could have. I'd have a way to heat your house that was based around firewood or some type of carbonaceous mass that you burn for heat for BTUs rather than natural gas or propane or heating oil or electricity. Have a way to cook with firewood or charcoal, whatever, something that requires a fuel to burn that you can readily lay your hands on. But you know, as far as why the power would go out, I think in the prepping community, we tend to think of that as an EMP or a solar flare that, you know, knocks the grid out. Well, here's the thing. The grid is highly dependent on human beings. And I know some of y'all may disagree with that. You can go check out a website called www.mpc Mike Papa Charlie site.com. That's one of my websites. I built the grid. Spent a large portion of my life building the grid, so I know a thing or two about it, all right? The grid is highly dependent on human beings to operate and to continue to operate. There are critical failure points within the grid that are irreplaceable without the grid. It takes electricity to build the things that make electricity and run the electricity. So, yeah, it's kind of bad. But it doesn't just take an EMP or a solar flare. You know, not that long ago, there was a group of people out in California that were shooting transformers, not the big robots, but the green boxes on the ground in substations and switching stations, and in your, you know, the alleys in your neighborhood and all that, shooting transformers with 50 caliber rifles. You'd wonder why they would do that. Well, each one of those transformers is custom built. It takes, depending on the size of the transformer, 1.5 to 2 years in some cases to get a replacement transformer. So if you can knock that transformer out, that portion of the grid, of the distribution network that is supplied by that transformer, is down until they can replace it or repair it. You got the bubonic plague in Madagascar, right? Hypothetically speaking, if that made its way to North America and people started dying of the plague, that's a lot less people to run the grid, to fix the grid. You know, just to keep that ball rolling is going to take people. Civil unrest. You know, if Bob in IT doesn't show up to his job on Monday because there are riots in the street, that's going to have downstream ramifications, right? So, I guess what I'm saying is we would do well in our preparedness mindset to understand that the grid going down is possible outside of a solar flare or an EMP. I would say that in any long-term, without rule of law situation, you're going to have no grid or just a little bit of grid here and there. It's entirely possible. Which harkens back to get good with these physical, visceral, tactile skills. Have hand tools, know how to use them. Be thinking 18th century, not the 21st century. So, that's my cool story for this morning. Y'all have a great day.